Dear students, in this video we are going to learn very interesting and useful chapter clauses. So what is clause? Clause is a group of words which has subject and finite verb. A clause can be a part of the sentence or a sentence by itself. So clause is a group of words which has subject and finite verb. Okay? Let us take an example and understand better. I shall go to school if you give me a car. Here, underlined words if you give me a car is clause because it has subject if you and finite verb give, and it is also a part of sentence. Let us take one more example to comprehend well. The girl who is standing there is my friend. Here, underlined words who is standing there is a clause because it has subject who and verb is standing, and it is a part of sentence. Okay, therefore it is a clause. So when we go further, we find that clause is divided into two. The first is main clause or independent clause, or we can say principal clause. And the second is subordinate clause or dependent clause. Okay? So clause are of two types, main clause and subordinate clause. Now let us understand what is main clause. Main clause indicates complete meaning by itself. Main clause or independent clause does not depend on other words. It has meaning by itself. For example, I shall go to school. Okay? Let us take another example. I don't know. Here, I don't know has meaning by itself. It does not depend on any other words. Okay? Let us see another type of clause, that is subordinate clause or dependent clause. So what is subordinate clause? It is just contrary to main clause. It depends upon the main clause for full meaning. It cannot stand by itself for complete meaning. For example, if you give me a car, if you give me a car, what? It does not have complete sense. So it depends upon the main clause for complete meaning, like if you give me a car, I shall go to school. Then there is full meaning. Take another example, where I shall study next year. No idea. So it depends on the main clause for complete meaning, as where shall I study next year? I don't know. Now it becomes complete sense. Okay? So the independent clause. Since independent clause depends upon the main clause for complete meaning, it is divided into three types, or dependent clause is of three types. The first is noun clause, the second is adjective clause, and the third is adverb clause. Now let us see one by one in detail. Let us take the first type of clause, that is noun clause. So what is noun clause? Noun clause acts like noun. It is usually introduced by words like what, when, where, that, whether. It acts as subject and object of the verb. Let us take an example and understand. I don't know what you will become. Underlined words, what you will become, is noun phrase because it acts like noun and it is introduced by the word what. And also at the same time it acts as object. Okay, let us take one more example. Where he lives is a mystery. Here where he lives is noun clause and it acts as noun and it is introduced by the word where. At the same time it also acts like subject in this sentence. Okay, now let us see the second type of clause, that is adjective clause. So what is adjective clause? Adjective clause describes, qualifies noun or pronoun. It is introduced by the relative pronoun who, whom, or whose, or which. Let us understand by taking an example. The man who has a limb is a soldier. Here underlined words who has a limb is adjective clause because it describes or qualifies noun, or we can say that relative clause who, relative pronoun who is used, and therefore we can say that it is adjective clause. Let us take one more example. The cat which has a ginger colored coat is from Persia. Here which has a ginger colored coat, the underlined words, is adjective clause because it describes or qualifies noun the cat. Therefore it is adjective clause. Okay, so students, in this video we have seen firstly what is clause, the meaning of clause, and secondly we have seen main clause and independent clause or subordinate clause. And subordinate clause is divided into three. The first is noun clause, the second is adjective clause, and the third is adverb clause. And here we have discussed the first and second type of subordinate clause, that is noun clause and adjective clause. Okay.